I don't like the direction Vlad went in. Like, it's just certain shit just didn't agree with me. A lot of stuff I used to see on him. Like, why? Why are you interviewing this?
See,
like,
echoing what we say
I
on this
knew he
podcast.
had morals underneath all this.
That's why you see dudes like Vlad TV, they want to say that I'm disrespectful or humble me because I question why they're even speaking on my culture. I'm difficult. I'm on a blacklist for even speaking of they blackball list. That's the type of I don't like, man. This narrative they try to create.
You don't have an understanding of how to monetize this without us giving it to you. And then when we turn around and we want to be compensated or we want to participate in the lion's share of what's being generated, then we're ostracized.
Across the glorious and checkered pages of hip-hop history, instigators have always played a crucial role. But when it comes to hip-hop figures that excel in manufacturing chaos, few have the success rate of DJ Vlad. Active in the game for the better part of 2 decades, the Kiev-born University of Berkeley graduate is a self-professed guest in the House of Hip Hop. Yet, despite a special clearance, Vlad TV helms one of its most recognizable content sources. Split between welcoming new guests to his dimly lit headquarters and welcoming his controversially courting favorites back whenever possible, his channel has garnered billions of views and spawned no shortage of feuds, outbursts, or memes. Away from providing bi-weekly dispatches in the Lord Jamar and Eminem beef, Vlad produces noteworthy moments even when he doesn't get the interview, such as when August Alsina responded to his request to discuss the Jada Pinkett scandal by tweeting, "Interrogation, I heard you the feds on the low." While August balking at the idea of using Vlad's platform to discuss a sensitive issue was born of self-preservation, it speaks to one of the broader issues that stalked Vlad's every move. The problem being that, as we see the patterns that perpetuate in Vlad's content, his reputation only seems to worsen among both industry vets and newcomers. In terms of years of activity, Vlad could conceivably be seen as a vet in hip-hop, but instead, he's regarded to be something held at arm's length. So all that he's beset by ill feelings these days, Vlad's career started out unassumingly, filling what he saw as a gap in the market with a West Coast-based mixtape operation. When you think about it, will we be getting bi-weekly dispatches from Lord Jamar that actually hit the news cycle if it wasn't for the rant inciting questions posed by Vlad? I was really the first person to ever do that because I really didn't have an outlet, Vlad recalls. I lived in the Bay Area in California and there was no Africans on Canal Street over there, so it was really all I could do. Never one to rest on his laurels, Vlad then brokered his mixtape Acclaim into in-depth interviews that were available for home purchase. When the DVD bubble inevitably burst, Vlad had to evolve or die, and in many ways, he spearheaded the YouTube interview as we know it today. It was just a YouTube channel, so people were wondering why I would call it that name. Now we're like the number 10 news channel, and that includes ABC News, Associated Press, and all those. We're number 10 on that list. You gotta see the vision early. These hustles don't stay the same. Armed with a keen eye for the next big thing and an unwavering work ethic, 2009 would see him garner the position of Executive Vice President of SRC Records. Now, Vlad's steadfast commitment to the grind has landed him in, if a BuzzFeed interview from 2014 is to be believed, a 700 square foot home in the millionaire's playground of Calabasas. But while it's clear that he knows how to monetize hip-hop, the question lies in whether it benefits anyone other than himself, or if it's actually proven itself to be a detriment to the wider culture. In Vlad's eyes, the distaste towards him arises from a refusal to dilute his interview style and let rappers push the promotional agenda. In the process, revealing exactly where his desire to document the ties between rappers and the street derives from. Speaking to Adam 22, he candidly laid his cards on the table.
I came into it not following the hip-hop interview blueprint. All the people that I was listening to, they all did these softball kind of interviews. I directed an episode of American Gangster, actually on Mac Dre and the Romper Room Gang. So I got to sort of put together this kind of a mini documentary on this this artist with a serious criminal element to it. And it was such a dope piece when it came out that I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take what I did with American Gangster and I'm gonna apply it to my own platform.
Without thinking twice, Vlad disclosed that his formula was to conflate the relationship between hip-hop stars and the criminal underworld. And what's more, it's in keeping with his response to Vince Staples refuting an interview offer. After Staples claimed that he had no interest in talking about gangbanging for 30 minutes, Vlad proudly proclaimed that his style is why no other hip-hop outlet has their interviews picked up by national and international media outlets. And while this may be true, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's getting reproduced for the right reasons. Vlad admits that he harnesses hip-hop's more explosive debates for financial gain. When asked why he constantly pushes hot-button issues such as homosexuality in hip-hop and gives problematic views a platform, his response was curt and business-oriented. It'll get a lot of views and people talking, and subjects like that, I try to push them as hard as I can. Forthcoming as he may be about his reasoning, it hasn't prevented hip-hop from believing his conduct needs to be eradicated. I'm issuing a fatwa on DJVLAD, said Jay Electronica in a lengthy drunken Twitter rant. That's right, I never liked you and your devilish energy. That's what's wrong with the game today. Ain't no consequences or accountability. Angered by Vlad's willingness to incite beef or profit from street drama, this is a common thread among many of the Rock Nation's signees fellow artists. Any you rappers new or old doing interviews with DJVLAD, y'all looking real burnt. Y'all dealing with a rat and snitch, remarked Lil B in 2016. Within minutes, his tweet was promptly co-signed by Young Thug. But where a string of MCs have voiced their displeasure with the video tycoon, some feel that Vlad couldn't be seen on an even keel within hip-hop after the Rick Ross incident. Cited by avid critic Joe Budden earlier, the controversy stemmed from claims that Rick Ross and his team assaulted Vlad at the 2008 Ozone Awards. Allegedly sparked by Rose's annoyance over questions about his correctional officer past, Vlad sued for $4 million, but the MMG mogul settled by paying $300,000 in damages. As an individual that covers breaking news in the hip-hop world, I'm grateful that the jury punished Rick Ross for setting me up. All I was doing was covering the news and making commentary, Vlad said after the verdict came to light. Although he may be happy to paint himself as the TMZ of hip-hop, this would all be well and good if he stuck to reporting on entertainment. But where many of the objections against Vlad arise is from the fact that he doesn't just spark beef, but actively strives to align himself with the underworld. And across his vast catalog of videos, many believe that Vlad has made on-camera incrimination part of his channel's standard diet. Speaking during a recent interview, Griselda's Benny the Butcher encapsulated why this happens to artists as they begin to reach an attentive and worldwide audience for the first time.
You got a dope platform out and it got a lot of views. A lot of my brothers can't handle that, you feel what I'm saying? It's almost sad. Let me ask you this. Now, if you got the platform and you know that, you know what I'm saying? Like, what make you ask those questions like that?
In his defense, Vlad erratically drew upon the fact that he doesn't talk about open cases to justify it. Cutting to a clip where he tells the baby that they'll refrain from discussing his infamous Walmart shooting based on the fact that it was unresolved, he goes on to pad out his response and claims that they've actively turned down interviews for this reason. If true, this hardline stance means that he won't actively land anyone in jail. And in many ways, it could be argued that it's the least any reputable outlet could do, particularly. However, this reluctance to actively pervert the course of justice doesn't account for the morality of rehashing the past. To the tune of millions of views, Vlad TV gleefully spotlights such harrowing stories as Casanova 12 inmates or Brian Glaze Gibbs 6 people. And while the morbidly intrigued audience that demands this content arguably empowers them to do so, what's left out is that these tales don't exist in a vacuum. For evidence of how Vlad TV's actions impact others, look no further than Bankroll Fresh's family's objections to his interview with his friend No Plug. Penned by his uncle Marvin Shady Powers, VP of Digital Marketing for Street Money Worldwide, the bereaved family member made his feelings known about what he saw as DJ Vlad's opportunistic content. You disrespectful culture vulture. I offered you to talk to my family when my nephew was first killed. Did you call us or reach out to the Street Money Worldwide family or his father and mother to get a rebuttal to No Plug story? None of that. When I asked you to interview Bankroll PJ and how he was continuing the legacy, you had a subordinate call me and tell me you're passing on PJ. He had just released a new single out, plus he starred in Atlanta this fall with Childish Gambino, but no, that was too positive, huh? Not enough black on black crime. Whether or not Vlad or his viewers would admit it, Powers claims in that DJVLAD had no interest in enforcing a journalistic right to reply would suggest that the channel's appeal is to help build a mythology of hip-hop's seedy underbelly and not serve as hip-hop's premier news source. Even if he doesn't discuss open cases, it doesn't change the fact that hip-hop at large sees his role as glorifying and then profiting off this lifestyle for suburban kids to gawk at from the safety of their homes. In a society where gangster movies never fail to ignite the imaginations of both impressionable youths and 9-to-5 workers who live vicariously through on-screen anti-heroes, Vlad TV caters to that same instinct and not musical insight. When he has a Wu-Tang Clan member on, he asks about the riffs. Upon finally interviewing Irv Gotti, he made a beeline straight for the federal case. In summary, a lot of his videos aren't about hip-hop. They're about the charting and manufacturing of conflict. And through this obsession with the infighting and lack of affection for the music, he forfeits his ability to be granted the status of a respected hip-hop commentator that his time in the game should allow him access to. Based on his consistently high view counts, there's no debate that there's a demand for what he does. But instead, where the problems lie is whether Vlad is the man to do it, and if he has any obligation to safeguard the people he platforms, and most importantly of all, is there any way to do that ethically? This has been a Hip Hop Madness original. Make sure to stay tuned and stay up to date with everything we got going on by hitting that subscribe button and notification bell. Oh, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Hip Hop Madness and join the movement.